All right. Oh my gosh, we have silence. I'll get it right eventually. There we go. Okay, so it only took us, 6 minutes to figure that out? There you go. So here, let's start again. Now that a good thing is that when this is all over, only us will know this ever happened, because the magic of YouTube will fade it away. So there we are. Okay, just to let you know how much of a delay there is, that's how much. So from me not talking to me talking, that's how much of a delay. So I had to take the headphones off. So yeah, so Harbinger, new speakers. Ta-da! And again, I'd like to thank my viewers and the people who subscribe and write comments and let me know when they see stuff. Because, of course, for those of you in the know, you know I'm in Canada. And I don't get to go down to Guitar Center that often. If I had a choice, because when I had my store, I had to model it and come out. I've been doing this for like 30 plus years. And, you don't just invent the wheel. You look at how other people run their businesses and how their concepts are and where you think you want to fit in. In Canada, there is nothing like Guitar Center. Now, I didn't sell guitars, but the concept of having an actual store, retail place where you can go and start off fresh, like, hey, I don't know how to play an instrument, or hey, I want to learn and I want to buy into and I want help. That's what Guitar Center is all about. Eventually, everybody outgrows Guitar Center, I guess, at some point in time, because you just become more educated than everybody else that's there. But the nice part is that it's a great place to start, learn, and be able to buy things with a lot of trust, which is very important. So that's how I thought I wanted to have my business, which I had for many, many years. It worked for me. It certainly works for them. And them being as big as they are, they get to do things like own other companies and put this puzzle together, which is amazing. Now, one of the things they do is have Harbinger now as a brand, but they don't do it the same way a Canadian company here does it. There's a retail, and I'm not poo-pooing on them or anything like that. There's a company here called Long McQuaid. They own Yorkville, so you might have heard of Yorkville. But they put an awful lot of emphasis on just that one brand. So it's a good brand, but they just, like, that's all they do. If you go to Guitar Center, you still find all the other brands, and you still get to compare, and you still get to get opinions, and everybody's open-minded to what they have. And Harbinger has become a really good brand to fit into the line of products that you can go out there and buy. And it keeps getting better and better and better, which is really what we've been seeing from a lot of companies out there. We see the same thing happening with Alto, and Electro Voice is becoming much more predominant in that mid-range category. Mackie is. But definitely what I've seen in the last, let's say, 4 years, definitely Harbinger and Alto have put in the most effort in coming out with products that are successful, that are truly better than what they were before, and are even better than some of the other big retail brands out there. And I mean that. And it's a good position, I think, that Harbinger's in right now, coming out with a new product. Introducing let me get it right, it's the V3400 series. Now, the 3400 series is basically helping them come up with a new product, a new rebirth, let's say, of the 2300, which is what they had before. So that's what we've been having, 2300, and this is going to be for the 2312 and the 2315, plus the subwoofer, which used to be called the 2318. And the new model is just going to be called, and I have this on for me because I don't have them all memorized, the VS18 sub, the new V3412, and the new V3415. Power-wise, no difference. Feature-wise, the app is really what's going to be driving this speaker forward. You are going to be able to hear the difference if you have them side by side, because some of the actual overall features of what the speaker has, very, very important, is a new tweeter driver package. And I'm going to go off the spec sheets and talk a bit about that right here. So we're going to open this up and look at the overall list of what the speaker offers and go from there. But I'm going to read some of the points here, and I tell you, I had to Google some of these words. Now, so just to go over the back of the speaker first, which we have here. And before we do that, we're going to talk about the tweeter and the woofer that's in the front. So very importantly, on their sheet, I got to read this because It's called peak performance. Now, this has nothing to do with how loud it is. This is an actual technology. It's a type of material, polymer to be exact, and it's being used on the tweeter. And peak, it's all capital letters, and I Googled it and watched a couple of videos on it. It's PEEK. So if you want to, I'll put a note in the bottom of it, but PEEK. Now, what that actually stands for is ether, sorry. So polyether ether ketone. And I didn't repeat that. It is twice. There's two E's. It's called polyether ether ketone. Now, all that fancy word talk, what does it mean? It's a special kind of plastic. Well, that's all it is, right? These are all plastics. That's what they come down to. But this is a material that they're using to manufacture and make the tweeter that they have on it, the actual high frequency driver. Now, what's going on here is that it can handle better temperatures. It is more flexible while staying rigid. It's one of these materials. If you've ever seen that gooey compound that if you stick your finger into, you can just push it through. But if you push on it hard, it's solid. It uses that rigidity, but it's still, very, very lightweight, and it runs really well. So that pushy material, that substance that's, rigid, when you push hard on it, but it's soft and flexible at the same time, amazing compound. This is kind of what is going on here. Now, this is a PET, or like they say, they like to call it, PEK, sorry. Normally, this is a product, the material that is in satellites, in rockets, and in medical equipment. So to take all of that and say, hey, we're going to use that kind of material in our products, that just shows you that they're refining themselves. They're getting themselves better. And it's not like they were in a bad place before. I think their products were pretty awesome before, and especially at the price points they were. If you were looking to launch yourself in any entertainment field, a good launching point. Two, did they actually, and let me read it again just to make sure. So the driver, the base module. So they're still running the XR low frequency driver package, which is what they had before, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Now, more importantly is the box. Now, the box has been quite redesigned on the whole thing. It is set up. Let me just bear with me a second here as I bring that up for us too. Yep, the box has become really nice. So what they're doing is it's a gas molded. I'll read it again and I'll explain it to you. So, it's always good to get it right. Gas assist cabinet molding process. Now, gas assist molding, cabinet molding process. I looked that up as well just to make sure, and I've seen it before, but I didn't realize what it was called. So in the last few years, there's been a new molding process for when they make the actual cabinets, in this case, the speaker cabinets, and it allows them to have a much more consistent wall, but it allows them to build things up bigger and better. So they can get better acoustics out of the box because they can put reinforcements where they need to put the reinforcements, and they can actually make the wall consistent, and they can finish the texture off much better. When they're looking for not having a painted surface, because that's, everybody doesn't want to paint the speaker box, is it gives it a proper finish. But more importantly, though, it allows the box to be properly engineered. So this way it's going to sound truer, and most of the sound is going to go forward. So we're not going to end up with this cob effect, which is where sound radiates out of the box as much, because they can properly design it. So what the designer and engineers wanted to have is exactly what you end up with in a box. There's no compromise because we can't do that. It's not in the molding system. We can't make that possible. Now, with the gas assisted, they can, which is very impressive. Again, it's something that you have to pay more for when getting your boxes made, but it means you're going to end up with a better product when you're done. So I like that a lot. Those are little things. It's the little things, because we're getting to be that way with the product. So what else are we going to talk about? Because this is very important, because I'm saving like the best chunk for last. I mean, everybody knows, price points are roughly about the same. So we're going to take a look at that on Guitar Center, because you can look at it. And the launch, though, is basically at the end of the month. It's last Thursday of the month. I think it's the 28th is what we have, right? So, yep. Launching September 28th. Now, maybe coming early. You could pre-order it if you want. You could go down to the stores. Those are very important things, by the way. I have the links down below. Use those to get you to the store. That's what pays for this, by the way. So we're not actually financially sponsored by anybody when it comes to making these videos. So my opinion is pretty much all. Yes, they do supply the product, but they don't financially compensate me for my opinion. So that's why this show is not sponsored. Now, what were we about to get into? Because that's just the way I am. So we're still with the speaker. Now, the two speakers compared to the old models power-wise, they both advertise as 2,000 watts peak. Now, we can go down to the spec sheet, and we're going to see that here. Outside of that, the same functionality is across the back on both of them. And that, too, is the same when we look at a lot of the features on the back. So when we look at, the voice selection, the way you set it up, which is very important because this minimizes feedback, maximizes volume if you're using the speaker straight up as a PA speaker. So you want to use it for public addressing, that sort of thing. You're using it at a school gymnasium, you're using it at a hall, a church, that sort of thing. It's a good feature to have. Then it also has the sub cutout options on it. It's got a whole bunch of great new features. Hold and save. Why? Because it has an app built into it, and that's what I've been saving, but we're going to get into that. What does this app do? Well, this app is going to give us a lot. This app is going to basically do everything that we saw in the 4000 series, except we're going to do it for a lot less money. We're going to do it at a better price point. So this way you're going to be able to have all those great new opportunities. Now, also at the same time, Bluetooth is still there, right? Except we don't even, if all I'm going to do is somebody needs me to set up a speaker system for a backyard party and all they want is Robin supply a playlist. We want to have, 200 songs or whatever not on random play. We want dance music. We want this, we want that. We just want to have it as background setup. You don't even have to run cables. You can use the Bluetooth function to connect the two speakers wirelessly to each other and then to your phone. And that's very important. Now, at the same time, I'm not going to plug microphones in because I can only plug a mic into one speaker anyways. And you can't have that wireless transmission. It'll be delayed and all that kind of stuff. It's not something for DJs, but it's definitely, if you just want to conveniently have two speakers hooked up, use one phone or tablet off to the side, make that happen. Now, how would you use wireless Bluetooth between speakers and your phone if you're, having a gig at a bar? Well, it's pretty smart and pretty simple. Your mixer's running everything, but you're going to want to play some music when you're not playing yourself. You just want to have some music playing in the background. So you go to the bar and have yourself a drink. Well, use Bluetooth and use the wireless connectivity. That's fine because, of course, a lot of mixers still don't have Bluetooth in them, right? So you're not going to be able to Bluetooth to the mixer, which is hooked up to your speakers. So in this case, you can still Bluetooth to your phone from the first speaker and use the wireless Bluetooth function to go skip the mixing board and go straight to the other speaker and wirelessly connect. So there's lots of good options, lots of good reasons to have that. Now, for the app. The app's even better, by the way. The app's better than it was because besides doing everything it did before for an Apple product, which is why, thank gosh, I have myself my tablet that I use for Amazon, because outside of that, every other device in my house is Android. But now, yes, by the end of October, if it's not out in time right now, maybe in time a little afterwards, besides having the Apple option, you will have the Android option. You just go to the actual Android store and just go to the actual app store and we're going to check. We're going to find out what the name is because I have it on my tablet, but I'm not going to go get that right now. Let's take a look, see here if we can't find it because they do tell you how to download it. And I read it in the instructions because it's always in the instructions. Bluetooth. There we go, right down here. So there's the app, and you can, on your device, it's the iOS driver device, yada, 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 yada. Reflashing. Oh, this is all for just Bluetooth setup. Pairing devices. Okay. Well, we're going to find the app. I'll probably end up having to get the tablet, but it's definitely in there, and they do tell you exactly where to go to get that. Now, once you actually get the app, it just connects up separately. There's two actual Bluetooth channels going into the speaker. There's going to be a Bluetooth for your music, and there's going to be data for the app to drive on the side. And that's very important. So they're not going to intermix with each other. And that's something we did see before. And again, it's still on the 4000, but it's at a new price point now. You're going to get it in the 3400 series, which is great. Now, 3400 series is going to be two models in the 3400 series. It's going to be the 12 and it's going to be the 15. So that's going to be the big difference there. You're not going to see the 10 and the 8. That's coming down the road in another series. That is going to be in this series here, which is going to be replacing the 2000, the Live 2000 series, and that is going to be called the, what do we got? We got the V2408 and the V2410. So they're really drawing a line in the sand, setting it up so this way you know the true differences between them. So what we're going to do is go down the actual manual a bit here and get ourselves to that point. And yep, so here we are. What are we looking for? We are looking for the specs, not on the subwoofer, but on the actual speaker driver. So no, we're still looking at more of the back of the speakers, more of the functions and features. And again, I did go through this and I didn't find a lot of differences when it came to the overall input options, the overall features. It basically has more resemblance to the V4000 when it comes to overall, with the power of what you had before in the 2300 series. So that's the big difference. Now, one thing is they're really showing you how they make the sausage on this one. I mean, they give you a lot of information. So when we're looking at this, I'm really seeing some details that you didn't see before. Now, this is the one that this always scares me as somebody who used to do retail and talks a lot about stuff on the internet. I call it, this is me in the actual showroom. People, well, what kind of wattage does it have? Well, it has 2000 watts. That's internet watts, though. That's how I would always, the peak power was internet watts. There's so many companies that just this arbitrary number they have on a box. And now there's a mathematical equation that allows all of this. It's double and 4 times, and that gets you into your peak rating and stuff like that. Most companies never tell you what their actual RMS is on a reasonably priced speaker. And I mean reasonably priced, by the way, I mean under $1,000. Excuse me. So I've seen this for years. And I'm not picking on brands by saying this. But if you go look at the spec sheet for Electro Voice, and what you look for the wattage on their particular models. So go up the ladder. They have 3 series. Look at the wattage they advertise. Look at the dBs the actual speaker puts out. Compare that to the 3 models. What you'll notice is that the wattage is the same twice, but the dBs go up. One's 6 dBs louder than the other. Go over to JBL's website. Do the exact same comparison. Look at their 3 series speakers. You're going to find that the wattage is similar in some of their speakers, but the dB goes up by 6. That's because they have internet wattage that they push forward and they don't really get into the background of what's going on. Now, if it's your second or third or fourth pair of speakers you're buying, and there's a lot of people buy lots of speakers out there, you're going to realize, and you're not too upfront about caring about the wattage because you know that the peak power is just this measurement that they can get for a blink of a moment. And most manufacturers don't really tell you what the amps run off of. And if you think there's some mathematical equation that you can look at the voltage coming into a speaker and the amperage and somehow come up with a mathematical equation that applies to the speaker output, well, it doesn't work that way. And also at the same time, because you'd be ridiculous loud. So what's happening is that yes, there's chips, there's caps, there's all kinds of stuff that goes on, and it's all D-class power amp. And at the end of the day, you're going to get a loudspeaker at the other end. Now, that being said, I'm going to give you the number here, and then I'm going to tell you another story about when I actually bought speakers from overseas and got instructions from the manufacturer. So I'll give you that. But so right here, this is the important part. Now, the 3412 and the 3415 are both rated. Power output is 2,000 watts peak. It's running on 400 watts. They even divide it up for you. So they tell you that the amp that's running The woofer is 315. The amp that's running the tweeter is 50, which I thought was kind of odd because really thought there'd be more into the tweeter, but same thing across the board. The only difference is in dBs because it's exactly the same amp going in. So the only thing that's different is that one driver between the two speakers and the overall cabinet. And if we look at the dBs, there's literally only one. I mean, the margin of error probably accumulates for the difference between these two. So then you get back to, well, why buy a 15 if I get the same out of a 12? When you're actually standing in front of them and you're within, let's say, 12 feet or 20 feet or less from the 12, we'll say 20 to 12 feet from the 12, it feels tighter. It feels fuller. I'm not going to say it feels louder, but it's smoother. Anyways, so then you take the 15 and in that same distance, it doesn't seem to carry as low. And again, driver is definitely going to be the size there. But the difference is when you get further back, when you're 24 or 30 feet away, the sound projects better on a larger surface. So the 15 carries better with the impression, how much you feel at the distance, especially when you put it up. Because dB is measured the same and the degradation of dB over time is the same. The only difference we can change is the overall volume, size, of how the sound is going to be projected across the room. Because it's all sine waves, right? So that's really what's going on. So if you're looking for smaller events, for stage events, you're looking for stage monitors, you're looking for spoken word, you want tighter speakers, then the 12s are really good. If your intention is to play it up a little bit louder and you want to drive it for larger audiences, not more than you can see, of course, then you get into the 15. So, of course, there's still always going to be a reason to have that 15. It's the same reason after that you end up with, getting into big line arrays. Eventually you just need bigger speakers. Now, here's the other story that I was going to tell you about the actual, the power, the 200 watts. Now, this is the same manufacturer I went to for samples because years ago I thought, I'm going to, bring in my own product because there wasn't a lot of choices in Canada at the time. So I went to the manufacturer who builds some of the other brands. They pick up the slack for a lot of companies out there, and they build products for a lot of the consumer brands. Okay. And I asked them for a speaker. I had picked one out. I thought I really liked this. It looked like something I had seen before, and that's what I was looking for. And I got that sample made. Very expensive, but I got the sample. And then I got emails and back and forth communications, instructions. They told me what the power was, and total power output was going to be something like 240 watts. It was going to be 100 and something with, it was 180 with 60 on top, sort of thing. And then they asked me, how much do you want us to put on the manual? How much do you want us to put on the box? Yeah, that was it there. And I knew that because I'd seen what other companies, the brands they built for, because I went with a fairly expensive amp configuration to really put a lot of power in. And then I realized that the configs the other companies were using was more like, 36 with an 8 and, 50 with a 20, that sort of thing. And it's like their numbers were ridiculous. 600, 800, 900 watts on their boxes. They were saying it was 450 RMS. It was crazy. And then I realized that these manufacturers will put anything on it because there's no reality in checking these things out. So this is why I get back to Harbinger is really showing you how they make the sausage, because they're actually showing you the 300 by 50, and they're doing that on their best price speaker. So they want you to feel completely comfortable with the fact that they're being completely honest about it. It doesn't take away from the fact that the 2312 that we have and the 2315 is stupid loud and has solid bass, and the clarity just comes out really smooth off of it. Doesn't take away from all that. It's the same amp. So we're going to see that in here. And I know that once we have it, it's definitely going to be something that's going to be really, really nice to listen to. Again, they go into a lot of detail because they know that they're being bought by a lot of musicians and a lot of people who take care in reading information, reading the specs, reading the details, trying it out. And especially, this is big, sometimes you know too much. And when you're the retailer of a large chain, the longer you do something for, the more you start realizing what everybody starts talking about. And that just becomes so overwhelming. And I'm sure they hear it in the stores. They hear it amongst the customers, the employees, the sales team, everybody. It's all about the specs, the details. Everybody picks on everything from all the companies. I mean, you get to a point where it's just crazy. So what they do is they put all that information in here. So this way there's no gray area. You can feel comfortable when you read this actual screen that you're getting numbers and information and details that they put a lot of work and effort into. So I really give them kudos for doing all this, because again, this is more information than I've seen on a lot of brands for 3 times the price. So that's really, really nice. I like that. And this is just a manual we're talking about here. I mean, that's pretty impressive. So now the subwoofer. Now there you go. The subwoofer's got quite a lot of toys in it now. So it's now, they're calling it the VS18. So they're not calling it the 3418. They're not doing that. I've noticed that with a couple of other companies now, because their lines are growing and they don't change subwoofers necessarily as often as the tops, especially now, because some companies, again, Harbinger's like that. If you look at Mackie, did it like 3 times in 4 years, 5 years. They did that. They changed their product. And if you look at Alto, same thing. They've gone through 3 versions of the product. Almost, between 16 to 24 months, they've come out with a new product. I mean, if it wasn't for COVID, that actually put a dent in their launching of, I think, their other product, they would have had their TS4 series out much sooner, because there was rumors about it before that. So if you're changing your tops that often, do you need to change the subwoofer? No. The subwoofer, you're tweaking it. The subwoofers are pretty topped out for what you can do at the price range. So these are all subs that are under $1,000. So you're getting a lot of power out of a subwoofer, and you're getting a lot of features. So they are doing little minor changes on it. Now, if you look at it, I'm going to take a closer look at it again here for the back, because I do have the 23. What am I seeing? Well, the level of, minus 10 plus 4 is actually indicated on the manual, but it is on the model that I have here. And you've got the time alignment, you got delay, you get the reverse. You get a little bit more out of the crossover. You get basically you're going to be able to adjust it. So they're going all the way down. You can cut it all the way down from 70 all the way up to 150, and then you can go full. Basically, you're turning off the crossover option on it. So, and they're also giving you, I like this. I just saw it now. So right here, they're telling you that, between the 70 and 100, that's recommended for 12s to 15s, which is nice because it's a good educational practice, right? I mean, everybody always asks, where should I do it? Where, what's a good point? You basically want to have a little bit of overlap. But that's pretty much it. And see here, look at the crossover points. They're going up much higher. This is going to allow me to get much better response out of my 8s and 10s. So they're all the way up. So anywhere from 115 to 150, those are for the 8s and 10s. And that makes great sense too, right? Because if you're looking at it, if I can take more out of the bottom, that's where my risk factors are. Outside of hitting the limits for my uppers, for my tweeters, my high frequency, that's going to work out pretty good. It even has a USB port on it now. Now, I'm curious if the app runs on the actual subwoofer. Well, we're gonna have to go take a look at the actual website for that. So in the manual, we get through a whole bunch of instructions, how-tos, which is nice, but that pretty much covers that. And let's see, frequency crossover output, switching volume knob. All right, charging jack. People like plugging in dongles in the back of these speakers, so it's nice to have a charging jack. Crossovers, there you go, ladies. Yep, power cord. Okay, so I don't see anything else outside, but they're just talking about the mechanics of the backside. Well, I love the hookups, because the fact that they have the feature with the smart stereo connection, right? So you can connect 2 speakers, plug into a first speaker, link off of that. It allows for a lot of great cable management. You get a lot of options when it comes to hooking up the subwoofer. Now, remember, you can buy their subwoofer and use it with any speaker you have. You're not locked into this. A subwoofer is like owning a pickup truck and buying yourself a trailer. That's really what a subwoofer is. It's just going to be a way to put a lot more bass into the volume of space that you're in. So, I mean, you can mix and match all you want. So what are we looking at here? Okay. So yeah, so they show you a smart stereo connection at the end. They show you, because you can either run through from the top down or from the bottom up. And that's pretty much what they're showing you in these two configurations here. It's just kind of important depending on how you like to hook up your equipment and how you want to control the sound. Now, the option they don't show you here is that when people use a bus channel off of their actual mixer or an actual dedicated sub channel, because some mixers now have an actual sub out, and we're not talking about a sub bus channel, we're talking about a sub out. You can also use, I like this for people who, you know, if you're using it for weddings, this option is really good. If you're not using a stage monitor for yourself, you put your subwoofers through the stage monitor, and there's the key advantages. This way, it stops you from having any subs, any of that sub bass on the microphone. Because remember, at weddings, you're going to be passing out microphones for people to use all around to talk, and if they talk incorrectly in the microphone, they can really pounce the bottom end, you know, just everything sounds ruffled and just, you know what I'm talking about, right? It just sounds bad. So if you can actually have the subwoofer on an aux, you don't have to turn that aux on the actual microphone. You'll only turn the subwoofer on the auxiliary channels that you have the music coming through. Very cool way to have it all set up, and it works out really well. And so, yeah, so here we go. Let's go over to the product page here and see what we can see on Guitar Center. Now, this also reminds me to tell you at this point in time, our affiliate link is down below. So whenever you plan on going to Guitar Center to buy something online, this doesn't work in store, by the way, but it doesn't hurt to tell them that Robin sent you. Yes, Robin from Expert On told me to come down to the store, listen to the speakers, get my own opinions. So this way I would be happy with them. If you told them that would be appreciated, because it would, you know, be nice if they know that, or send their customer service online so they know that, you know, customers are coming. And also use the link, because that's actually how I get compensated, because I'm an affiliate with Guitar Center. So that means whenever you buy things through the link, I get paid a commission, which is how it should be, right? So that's what's going on there. Now, here we are. Side note over. Back to Guitar Center's website. We're on the page. So when I was talking to them about the speakers, it seemed like it was like, you know, this was all the information they had, and it was going to get released on their website. I had gotten mixed up with product availability versus what they actually put on there. So this is the big talk, the big first talk. Now, you can order it. You can add to your cart. You can order these speakers. You're going to have to check, you know, they're available. They're in stock. Depends on where you are. So that's good. If you're planning on going down to the store, though, I would call your local store first. I even included Guitar Center's phone number down below, so this way you can call them up and say, hey, I was just watching Robin on YouTube, and I wanted to call and find out if you had the new 3400s in stock or not, because that's always nice to know. You can also check online. I think you can check your availability of your local store, which I have set up as Buffalo, by the way. So it does say I can order them online, so that's cool. And you're looking at $450 for the 15. Now, if you're curious, you're going, I really like the idea of that. You know, I get the new one. The old ones are on sale, by the way, so you can get a really good deal on them. And we're going to be talking about, you know, the 2315s for a while, because same power, same overall feature. And of course, nothing ever goes away. In, you know, we are going to talk soon. I've got a bunch of videos coming out. I've got a couple of other YouTube channels too, by the way. So they'll be tagged at the bottom of this, not now, but later on, but I'll put them in the next videos for you. So if you're looking to make some extra money and you're trying to figure out how I use product that I have or how I do things to make extra coin, because think about it, all my money is made making videos. So how do I do it? I talk about that on my other channels. And also, I have another channel, how-to channel, which is more like off the beaten path how-to. It's called How To Island. I just started it. It's like how I do everything else. So if you're not just looking for the big audio stuff, but you want to learn more about how I film things, how I make the sound on my microphone work, why I use certain mixers, or how I get the video and all that kind of stuff to work when it does work, that's what I talk about on that channel. So there you go. So again, I'd like to say thank you very much. Hope to see you next time. And of course, it's my video, so bye for now. And now I got to find the end button. There it is. End. Thanks again.